As we all know, there are no shortcuts in cycling, and that is especially true during base season when you really can't replace those long, solid endurance miles. But if you live in a colder climate where you have to ride the trainer for most, if not all of the winter, that is extremely hard. And I'm sure we've all been there where you've got a 5 hour ride scheduled on a Saturday, but you see that it's going to snow and you're going to be forced on the trainer. So what do? You get on the bike for 2 hours, maybe throw in some tempo intervals, and you call it a day. And while that is training, it's not going to replace those long zone 2 miles in the winter. And if you really want to achieve your peak performance next season, you got to be willing to put those miles in. And so, learning to really embrace the trainer and embrace those long miles in the winter is going to be super beneficial. And if you find that you really struggle with riding the trainer for 3+ hours, I'm going to share with you my top tips to busting out long trainer rides and actually have fun while doing it. My name is Landry Bobo. I'm a coach and the senior leader here at EVOQ Bike, and I'm going to share with you the ways in which I'm able to do 5+ hour trainer rides routinely throughout the winter and actually enjoy it. And this is something that I've become a little bit notorious for over the years is doing insane miles on the trainer. I've always lived in a colder climate during the winter. So lived in Colorado for most of my life. And then I lived up in the mountains in North Carolina where, believe it or not, the winters were actually even worse. And uh, pretty much stuck on the trainer for for a very large portion of the winter. And back in the day before Zwift, when we were stuck on the fluid trainers, doing the long trainer rides was not really possible, at least for me. Pretty much 3 hours was my limit, and even that was brutal. But thanks to the advent of smart trainers and Zwift, it is so much easier to get through the winter. I used to hate the winter, but over the years, I've really come to enjoy riding the trainer, and I kind of almost treat it as a different discipline and something that I actually really enjoy just by learning a few tricks that has made it a lot more enjoyable. And I'm going to share with you those top tips. So, the first thing really is your setup. If you have the best setup possible, it's obviously going to be way more enjoyable to ride the trainer. And if you don't have a smart trainer, I would highly recommend investing in one. I know there are some people who are really resistant to that and they're still rocking the fluid trainers, and it's almost like they just tell themselves like, I hate riding the trainer, I'm not going to invest in a smart trainer. And that's just the way it is. But if you invest in a smart trainer, you might not hate riding the trainer so much. And as someone who rode a fluid trainer for 10 years and then finally started riding a smart trainer, I can tell you that it makes such a huge difference. Going from feeling like you're pedaling through quicksand to feeling like you're actually moving on a road is such a game changer. And the other big thing that helps so much is an online platform like Zwift or Training Peaks Virtual or something along those lines. I just find that gives me a sense of progress. Um, Back in the day, either I would maybe watch TV or just stare at the wall and listen to a podcast, but there's nothing to distract you. And you're basically just pedaling nowhere. But something like Zwift can just give you that sense of progress and make it seem like you're actually going somewhere rather than the reality that you're pedaling in circles and not moving at all. So those are two big things that if you're resistant to that or you just aren't sure if you want to pull the trigger, I think it is so worth the investment to invest in a solid trainer and to get set up with Zwift or something like that. But really the biggest tips that I wanted to dive into are what I'm going to get to next, and that is your mindset. And the biggest battle with riding the trainer is really your mind. It's not physical. Yes, riding the trainer is physically, in my opinion, a little bit harder than riding outside, but the biggest thing is your mindset. And if you just have the right approach, 4 hours on the trainer can be easy in some capacity and it can be fun. And so one way that's really helped me to look at it is almost treating Zwift like a different discipline. So we've probably all heard the adage that comparison is the thief of joy. So used to be, I was planning on riding outside. I saw the weather was going to be bad. I wasn't going to be able to go do the long endurance ride or the group ride in January. And I was forced on the trainer. And then I'm just waking up on Saturday morning. I'm grumbling. It's like, oh man, I just wish I could ride outside. I get on the trainer. It sucks. And the whole time I'm just like having a bad attitude that I have to ride the trainer. But something that's really helped me is just treating it like a different discipline and kind of embracing it. So where it's like, hey, today we're going to ride road. Today we're going to ride gravel. Today we're going to ride Zwift. And there's going to be no junk miles. And I'm going to put on my music and I'm just going to enjoy that. And I'm going to enjoy the benefits to riding the trainer. And I'm not going to compare it to riding outside. I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. And I know that it sounds silly, but it really makes a huge difference. And the reality is there are so many benefits to riding the trainer. Being able to have zero junk miles, zero coasting, that has taken my performance to the next level in the winter. Like invincible legs by the time you get to March. Not being cold. For me personally, I love listening to music. And so I can catch up on a lot of new music that I haven't had a chance to listen to. And just really embrace it as best you can. And don't compare it to riding outside. The other thing is the time of day that you ride. So, if possible, especially on the weekends, try to ride first thing in the morning. Just wake up, get on the bike as quickly as you can, and don't procrastinate with it. Because what will happen throughout the day is your brain can tend to get overstimulated. So, you check your phone, you go online, you watch a bike race, whatever. And all of these things will cause your brain to kind of get caught in that dopamine loop where it's like, oh, I want to check this. I want to look at this. I want to look at this, to the point where you procrastinate till the afternoon. And that's like, oh man, I just don't want to ride the trainer now. This doesn't sound like fun to me. And it's because you're overstimulated. And so doing those harder tasks becomes more difficult. And if you've not read the book Dopamine Detox, he talks about this, but pretty much things like social media, your smartphone, just the internet in general, these open systems can be very overstimulating for your brain and they can make it harder to do difficult tasks. And so when you get up first thing in the morning and you ride the trainer, you're going to be more motivated to knock out those hard tasks, such as riding the trainer. And it's going to be a lot more fun. And you're going to be less tempted to skip the ride or shorten the ride if you do it first thing in the morning. And if it helps you to have everything laid out, have your nutrition laid out, have your bottles filled up, have your kit laid out, if that's what helps you to just get on the bike instead of procrastinate, that's the way to go. Another simple thing along similar lines is to go what I like to call cold turkey during the first part of the ride. So for me personally, I usually like to just use Zwift and then listen to something. So I'll listen to music, I'll listen to podcasts or something like that. I usually don't like to watch something else, but what I will do is say I'm going to get on the trainer for 5 hours. Really and truly, for the first 2 hours, I will not listen to anything. I will literally just have Zwift on. And what that does is two things. It helps me to kind of get into this flow state where somehow I'm just able to shut everything out and enter this Zen state where like time doesn't even pass. And I think it has to do with that overstimulation that I talked about, where you're just at this lower level of stimulation and you're not distracted. And it kind of becomes more akin to riding outside. And it just gives you time to kind of reflect and clear your head. And then at hour 2 or 3, then I'll actually put the music on, and then it makes the rest of the ride go way faster. And it kind of gives you something to look forward to as well. So you get to hour 2 or 3 when it starts to get hard, and it's like, oh yes, now I can listen to the music. And it kind of gives you that extra boost for those last couple hours that are way harder. And it gives you something to look forward to. And so I find that really actually makes the time go way faster. And I know that I've recommended it to other people and they've tried it and they're like, wow, like that made this go so much faster just by not listening to something or watching something in the first part of the ride. And it just kind of helps you to switch your brain off. So those are kind of two mindset things that have made a really big difference for me. And then there are a lot of other things that you can do to make the trainer more bearable. So another thing is riding the trainer is a lot more physically difficult and it can really beat you up. So you can tend to use the same muscle groups over and over and over again. Obviously, your undercarriage can really take a beating. So some really important things is get out of the saddle regularly, like every 3 to 5 minutes, shift up, get out of the saddle. And there's some people that don't know how to actually do this on the trainer. They don't think to do it. But it's something that's you should definitely practice to get out of the saddle because that's really going to alleviate the potential pain on your undercarriage. And I know that I've heard of some people who say they can't ride the trainer for more than a couple hours because their butt hurts. And so just get out of the saddle every 3 to 5 minutes. And it feels a little awkward at first if you're not used to doing it, but with like a little bit of practice, it's pretty easy. And then the other thing is vary your cadence and vary your position on the bike. So you can basically ride in the same position at the same cadence for hours on end when you're riding the trainer. And then what happens is you start to work certain muscle groups more than others, and your legs start to hurt like crazy. And then maybe you get sore in some weird areas. And I find that just changing your cadence up and switching your position can really help alleviate that and make it a lot more similar to riding outside. So the reason why riding outside is a little bit quote unquote easier than riding the trainer is because you're always doing that. You're getting out of the saddle, you're getting into the drops, you're getting on the hoods. So just basically do that while you're inside. So go from 90 RPM to 65 RPM, get in the drops, shift your hips back, and that can really help to work some different muscle groups that aren't being engaged. And I actually think this is really important from an adaptive standpoint because only the muscles that you train are going to get stronger. And so from riding the trainer a lot, you can actually potentially be under training certain muscle groups that you actually would be using outside. And so just shifting your position can really help you to engage those different muscles that might not be getting activated as much. The other thing is try going without erg mode. So I know we have team erg mode, we have team no erg mode, but for these long endurance miles on the trainer, I would really recommend trying going without erg mode if you haven't. And I feel like it's way more engaging to really focus on holding a steady power target rather than just having the trainer control your effort. And it just gives you something to focus on. But I actually think it translates really well to outside as well. Just training your ability to focus and hold a steady power, even if it's on the trainer, really helps you to do it outside as well. So I would also recommend doing that. And then the last thing is snacks. So this is a great time to just like eat things you normally wouldn't eat while riding outside because it's harder to eat while you're outside. So something I'll do is I'll go to Sprouts and they've got this whole section of all these like candies and gummy bears and all these things that I love in the winter, just like going and buying a bag of these and trying them out. And it's funny because it's like, oh man, I can't wait to do my long 5 hour train ride on Saturday and eat this new snack that I bought. So that's another thing that I think is can make riding the trainer a lot more fun. But I am interested to hear what your strategies are for riding the trainer. Is there anything here that I didn't mention that you've found that really helps you? Put that in the comment section down below. And I would love to hear from you. My name is Landry. You can email me at landry@EVOQ I would also recommend that you check out our website. We've got tons of great content on there. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe already. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.